Brawlers have an incredible history within the game. The meta changes around them every update, and we have seen a lot of Brawlers being released since the beta launch of Brawl Stars 7 years ago. Most of the Brawlers released were overpowered, and some of them were released in an underwhelming form. I am going to revisit some of Brawl Stars' underwhelming Brawler releases of all time. If you enjoy this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I am going to start with the current year and go through each one, and I probably will not be able to fit all the Brawlers in this video, so I may do a part 2. Let's just get right into this. Firstly, I am going to talk about the most recent Brawler on this list, and it is Lily. She is good now with 2 ammo slots, but on release she only had 1 ammo slot, and I think this is what stopped her from being a good Brawler. She has a good super that lets her teleport near the enemy, and it can also charge automatically if the enemy stays in her circle. Additionally, her gadget Vanish is overpowered because it lets her easily approach enemies without being detected. The only downside is that you don't know where the enemies are when you enter the Shadow Realm. Her DPS was bad, and when comparing her with other Brawlers released this year like Larry and Lori, Angelo, Melody, and Mo, she was completely outclassed. I consider her to have had the worst release of this year so far. We will still have to see the Brawlers in November and December. We're done with 2024, and we are going to 2023 with Doug. I don't think I need to give many explanations as to why Doug had an underwhelming release. In my opinion, Doug is pretty much Jackie with healing and less damage, a revive super, and no way to get close to the enemy. Doug's main attack damage and heal were based on how close Doug was to the enemy or his teammate. Luckily, this was changed at the start of this year. His super respawned you with only 50% of your health, and it couldn't go through walls. It was a nightmare to get close to enemies, and it was one of the worst Brawlers I've ever played in my life, besides Hank. This was one of the worst Brawler releases we've seen in years. Let's talk about Maisy. Maisy's main attack started slowly, but gradually gets faster. However, it had a problem. The projectile took too long to reach enemies, making it hard to hit them. Her first gadget, Disengage, was a dash in the opposite direction that had a stun, which was good but hard to use. She ended up receiving 3 buffs almost 4 weeks later. This is hard for me to put this Brawler on the list, and it is Otis. He is my favorite Brawler, but he had an underwhelming release. His super didn't deal any damage. The silence was good, but the damage was the key to making Otis good. At that time, Brawlers were released with only 1 star power and 1 gadget. The other came later in the season. He was released with his worst ones. His gadget Dormant Star is useless, but his star power Stencil Glue was decent. 1 second of silence can change the entire game, but he depends on his 2nd star power, Ink Refills. His release was underwhelming in my opinion, and it took the Brawl Star team more than 2 months to buff him. Now let's talk about Lou. He had low health, his main attack had 4 projectiles but dealt not a lot of damage, and he had very small health, making him easy to eliminate. The freeze mechanic is cool, but the other stats were kinda bad. It needed Brawl Stars one day to give him 3 buffs. That shows how bad he was on release. The last Brawler on the list is Colette. This may be one of the worst releases. She was good against tanks at full health, but when it got low, it was almost impossible to eliminate an enemy. I know this is her mechanic, but the minimum damage was so low, and I still didn't mention that it also affected pets, turrets, and boxes. If you played Colette during that time and the enemy played Jessie or Nita, you are absolutely screwed. Not only was the main attack damage bad, but also her super. I don't know how Colette passed the balancing team, but this was a nightmare to play with her. I didn't get her during that time, but no amount of money will make me play with her in her release state. Brawl Stars, a 1 week later, gave her 5 buffs, but that's not it. She also got 2 more in October and another 2 in December. Colette's release was worse than Doug's. Yeah guys, that is my list for some of Brawl Stars' worst Brawlers releases of all time. Let me know in the comments section what you think. There were some Brawlers that were right on the fringe of being on this list, specifically Willow. But I think the Brawlers I named previously in this video were all worse. Let me know in the comments if you would like to see me do some ranking videos as well, or if you would like to see something else. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.